Hello and welcome to the NHL Best Bets. Last night we had naturally our two picks here, and first one, Tampa Bay Nashville. We predicted under 5.5 goals. Game wasn't as predicted, but goalies were not either. Nashville, there were correct goalie use. Saros, he played very well, only 2 goals against him, but in Tampa, instead of league top goalie Andrei Vasilevsky, there were Curtis McElhinney, and he was sucking 7 goals, so 9 goals altogether, and clearly over. Then Florida Dallas. Florida was better team here. It took overtime, but then in a coin flip they won this game, and our pick was correct there as well. Tommy, what's your take out of these 2 games?
Both games, I think I would bet again if I knew the starting goaltenders beforehand. So I don't know why Tampa Bay decided to go with McElhinney. It's not a back-to-back game. They're only not playing today. They're playing tomorrow. So there was no reason why they would go with the backup. Of course, they probably want to prepare Vasilevsky for the playoffs and give him some days off. But I don't know if it's worth one of their possible opponents, Nashville, in the playoffs. Why would they give this sort of game to them? So it was a weird decision from Tampa Bay. And of course, one of the bigger reasons why our pick didn't go correct when the goaltender has the same amount of penalty minutes as he has saves in the first period to start with. I don't think that's a good number. So Nashville took 3-goal lead very easily in the beginning, never looked back, and won the game comfortably. In the third period, it was just played off this game. Nashville scored 3 more goals, and 7-2 was the final result. But again, if you show me a guy who predicted this game to go 7-2 for Nashville, I will show you someone who has a time machine and has been seeing this game beforehand, because very unpredictable result. So I won't fault the pick here. It was very well grounded in our statistics, but weird choice in goal, and Tampa Bay was not very good either when they were chasing. But as we've seen, Tampa Bay does not really have to be winning the games in the regular season. They are already aiming for their playoff run, but very disappointing in that way. But in Dallas, then we had exactly as predicted the game. Florida was a little bit better, a bit more active throughout the game. Good game from Drieger in the net. Dallas got into it and managed to take it to overtime, but then Florida deservedly took the point. So a good pick, that one, and a nice performance from Florida after a little bit of a struggle lately. So very good game from the road team, and now they are returning home. So let's see how they're doing in the coming games.
Yeah, maybe a few words for this Tampa Nashville game, and like you said, Curtis McElhinney saving percentage in the first period was around 50, and then at the end of the game it was 68, so nothing significant there. And the amount of shots during the game was 45, so with some kind of average number of goal saving percentage that would generate 4 or 5 goals, but this time it was 9.
Yeah, but usually do point out that individual players have not that big an effect on a game. But when you go the over-unders, of course, the goaltender is one of the players that are the most important in that regard. Now, McElhinney is usually an okay backup. He plays quite rarely, but he's a veteran guy, knows how to come in the team, and he's been reliable so far. But of course, these off nights are much more likely when there is the backup keeper than if you have the best keeper in the league, Vasilevsky, at this moment. So that was probably one of the reasons why the pick went wrong. I can't see Nashville scoring 7 goals against Vasilevsky at any point of the season.
How about other games? Based on our simulations, there were some slight surprises, like Calgary winning Toronto overtime, but I think other games went as higher probability team winning.
Yeah, not a good night for the system either. If it wasn't good night for our picks, we got New York Rangers winning. New Jersey was a correct one from side value point of view, which was a good pick. And then of course this Florida game that we did pick. Otherwise it was slim pickings, so we only got 2 out of those 6 games correct in side value. 4 out of 6 in the money line selection, but those odds for Boston against Buffalo. Which was a very close matchup actually, but Boston managed to win it. But the odds for Boston gave a profit of 26, so not very profitable there. And also Washington beating Philadelphia was no surprise. Philadelphia struggling still, but the money line was for Capitals, but side value we are going with the Philadelphia Flyers, so that was wrong from side value, but plus 59 from money line. But these are the odds that we're not aiming for when the value is on the other side. So profit if you want to pick the favorite, but we're not going for that. We try to find the value.
And talking about value with good odds, let's continue directly to our picks for today. We have here 2 games. First one is day game, Arizona at Minnesota. Arizona odds plus 175 provide good value there. Minnesota was beaten twice by St. Louis in their trip to the Blues, and they have been a bit up and down with good performances and not so good performances. Arizona's road trip is long and recently not so successful, but this time we are looking for upset here from the visiting team, especially because of the early game. And then we repeat the bet what we had 2 nights ago. Vegas continues the game in Los Angeles. Kings has won last 2 series, the second game both home and away, and this form is something that we are looking for again. Odds are very high, plus 185, so basically you need only hit one of these in order to make money.
Yeah, definitely these games are what I was talking about. We're looking for the value here. So let's see, Minnesota is facing Arizona at home in Minnesota. Arizona lost 4 games in a row. They are on the verge of losing their chances to getting into the playoffs, with St. Louis getting better and better as expected. So Arizona needs to pick up their game in order to reach the playoffs. They're now chasing by 1 point. They have 2 more games played than St. Louis. So very close battle there. This is a good chance for Arizona to turn the tide against Minnesota. Minnesota also struggling a bit, managed to lose quite heavily in St. Louis and then bounced back in a closer matchup, but still lost. So Minnesota not playing very well either at this moment. So very, very close matchup. According to the simulations, we have Arizona at 46.3%, which is significantly higher than the odds indicate. The odds are around 30%, 175 was it the odds. So excellent odds, good value for a visiting team who have the chance to upset Minnesota. They are a bit better team than we've seen recently. They've played against very good opponents. Of course, their goaltending situation is a question because Antti Ranta and Darcy Kemper both have been out. So probably Aiden Hill or the Russian guy Ivan Brosvetov might be starting, not sure yet. But still a good value for Arizona. They have a great chance to upset Minnesota here. And a similar sort of thing in the West, Los Angeles Kings facing Vegas in the second game now. They lost the first one 2-4. They should get in their winning ways if they want to chase the playoff spot. They already have sort of resigned from that chase. They are quite far with the 6-point difference to the line, but they do have the chance to still compete. It's a young team, a feisty team that they are gonna fight against Vegas, and Vegas might be starting to prepare for their playoff run. Maybe not put all in, maybe rest some guys that have been playing more. So it's a good bet again with nice value in the simulations. 44%, for Los Angeles Kings at home, while the odds indicate around 35. So great value in both of these picks. Of course, both of these teams also are underdogs, but these games come home at times. So I think it's a great pick this time. And have to be said about Arizona, they were expected to sell a lot of players or let a lot of players go in the deadline if they were deeming that they don't make the playoffs, but they are in the fight. They didn't make moves, so that indicates that they are still trying to push for the playoffs instead of quitting the season early.
Yeah, they are currently 1 point behind St. Louis, although they have played 2 games more, but still they are middle of the fight there. And Arizona have played, like you said, against tough opponents. They've lost last 4, but 3 of those against Vegas and Colorado. And before that one, in previous 8 games, they won 6. And there we have usual suspects like San Jose and Anaheim that they have swept. So Minnesota, let's see if they belong to the tougher team or some kind of a mediocre team category here. But it would be interesting game in any case how Arizona would do in Minnesota. This game was postponed from a few nights ago, but now they are playing it at the daytime.
Yeah, you raised a good point also about the daytime game, that it's a difficult preparation for the team. So I think it cancels a little bit of the home advantage. Of course, this season home advantage non-existent anyway, but I do think that these games are more prone to be evened up even between a team that might be a little bit better usually and an underdog. So I do think it's going to be a lot more closer game than if we would play in the normal schedule at a normal time in Minnesota.
Yeah, Vegas, like you said, is a favorite here in Staples Center, but they have maybe their eyes already to the playoffs because they are now 15 points above the line of playoff line and still have few games less than some of these contenders like Arizona, for example. So I think Colorado, Vegas are the ones that can start to draw their new tactics for the playoffs already, and then Minnesota maybe think a few more games and then move this group as well.
Yeah, and the schedule for these teams is really packed in the end because there's been a lot of rescheduled games, so they are continuing their season all the way, regular season all the way to 10th of May, and there will be a lot of games. I don't think they have 2 days off at any point before that, so it might be that these better teams will use a little bit more of rotation, give a little rest for their top guys, and maybe even play the third goaltenders at some point. I'm not saying at this moment yet, but in the end, because we've seen that in the playoffs, if you lose a guy, you might have to have 2 goaltenders capable of playing. So now there is the chance with the taxi squad. Every team, almost every team has 3 goaltenders in their use. So there might be some surprise selections to start the games as well at some point.
In West Conference, there are a few other games as well. All the teams are playing tonight. Colorado goes to St. Louis. They have good value there as a visitor. And same thing for San Jose at home against Anaheim after the big upset a few nights ago. Do you think these big favorites are worth to bet, or are the odds so low that it doesn't make any sense?
According to the simulations, both of these are worth the bet. It's there if it's playable when the odds are around minus 170 for Colorado, minus 189 for San Jose. Both of these teams are better than their opponents, but especially St. Louis Blues has now found a little bit their game, and they are a dangerous team, especially if you go a little bit overconfident in there. St. Louis will definitely take advantage of that. This is a very interesting matchup in St. Louis against Colorado. How do these two teams match up? They have a rivalry going on. it hasn't been that tough this year because St. Louis has struggled and Colorado has been so good. So it will be very interesting matchup. In the simulation, 67% goes to Colorado, while the odds are around 60%. So good value for a better team there. But I have a nagging feeling that St. Louis might surprise here. So keep it easy when you place bets for Colorado in this case.
Let's see how the top team in the West performs. Naturally, we hope that the second best team doesn't perform so well. And we'll follow all these games tonight and be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.